Well, hard to believe that I'm already on the Gen 5 one. So of course, welcome back everyone. Yep, that's right. Today I'm of course going to be taking another look at the Gen 5 games and of course be discussing what I liked most about them and, well, certain flaws. Obviously, this is not a full review of these games. I've already done that for all of them. And of course, this will be covering Pokemon Black and White and of course Black and White 2. Do keep in mind that there will be spoilers for these, and well, before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you all for making the Gen 4 video one of my most popular videos. It's been really fun doing these, and I'm really glad that they have been blowing up lately, so thank you all for that, and I hope you all enjoy this one. So with the Gen 5 games, it was quite a bit of interesting things, but there are also quite a few flaws with these ones. So, as usual, starting off with the pros, we of course have the story, and of course new Pokemon. The story for the Gen 5 games was just terrific, especially with Black and White. These ones definitely made the story a bit more interesting, as before then, while there was a story, it kind of could be ignored for the most part, here and there. But with the Gen 5 games, it definitely felt like they were starting to take the story more seriously, and I think it paid off very well in this regard. The new Pokemon are also pretty fun. I've had quite a few favorite Pokemon from this generation, and it's always fun going back to this gen and seeing which new Pokemon I can use. The Unova region is also pretty fun to explore too. It's a gorgeous region, and there's some really fun places to explore, and frankly, it's probably one of the best regions that Pokemon has designed. So next up, we of course have the Black and White Pokedex. This could probably be a controversial pick, but it's in the pros section anyways. So with Pokemon Black and White, they only allowed for Unova Pokemon to be in the Pokedex. Well, you could trade Pokemon from Black and White 2 and eventually later transfer them. It was a really interesting idea, in my opinion, and frankly, I kind of do hope that they do this again, because only being able to use the Unova Pokemon introduced with Black and White at first was pretty fun, and it's thanks to this that I was able to find some wonderful Pokemon to use. I definitely see why this might have been a controversial idea, because everyone wants to use their older favorite Pokemon, but it's thanks to this that I think I started using the newer Pokemon a lot more whenever a new generation arrives, and for that, I'm thankful for it. Of course, obviously, next up, we of course have the returning Pokemon in Black and White 2. While I do love Black and White 2 allowing for returning Pokemon was also a pretty good idea. As, well, Black and White did let us get used to new Pokemon, Black and White 2 kind of feels like it rewarded those who did use the new Pokemon, and frankly, I think they did a wonderful job with the new Gen 5 Pokemon, and of course, the return Pokemon in these Pokedexes, and frankly, Black and White 2 will always remain as some of my favorite entries in the series. Next up, we of course have the great characters and OST. The music for these games is just wonderful. Some of the best tracks in Pokemon have been because of this generation, and it's the same thing with the characters. All the gym leaders feel like they have more personality compared to before, and your rivals, well, excluding Hugh, Bianca, Sharon, and of course N, feel like they definitely feel like they have more character this go around, and frankly, they're pretty interesting characters, and I like to see how Nintendo will help Pokemon, how Pokemon improves on the characters if they ever remake these games. Of course, there are also several challenging battles in this generation, which is pretty enjoyable. I'm not saying that the earlier Pokemon games were too easy, but there were some fights in them that were, well, kind of too easy. So it was nice that Black and White did have some challenging fights in them. Because next up, we of course have the Pokedex, which is actually pretty easy to complete. Now, I won't spend too much time on this topic because, again, I've already did talk about which Pokedex was easy to complete, and I plan to eventually cover that again. But of course, Gen 5, in my opinion, had one of the easiest Pokedexes to complete, as you didn't really need the Gen 4 games too much. It definitely made it easier to get, well, it definitely made it easier to complete, but if you're just going by the regional dexes, it wasn't too difficult to really complete them. Now for the next step, we of course have the fact that Pokemon Black and White 2 are of course wonderful sequels. Kinda how you mentioned that in the story department, but yeah, these games did improve on quite a bit of Black and White, and frankly were pretty enjoyable sequels in my opinion, and are among two of the best games. Obviously we of course have, well, hidden abilities and moving sprites being introduced, or at least improved on. Hidden abilities were a very fun idea. Well, I didn't really use them too much in this gen, or I think ever. It's definitely kind of a cool thing to add. Of course, as for moving sprites, now, we did have moving sprites back in Crystal, but these ones are of course fully moving sprites, which of course which kind of does make it seem like there's more life in these games. And of course, last but not least, we of course have the Black and White 2 post game. It's one of the best post games in the entire series. But moving on to cons, we of course have the EXP system is bad until Autognome. Yeah, well, don't know how I word it, but the higher level your Pokemon is, the less EXP they get, which is kind of a hassle until Autognome is introduced, which isn't until like after first gym in Black and White. In Black and White 2, pretty early on, it's still kind of a giant pain sometimes. Obviously, too many multiplayer additions and triple and rotation battles. Yeah, obviously, with the multiplayer, we got stuff like Entralink, Black City, and White Forest, and yeah, those, in my opinion, were just kind of boring and just didn't really feel like they added too much. Same from the triple and rotation battles. Yeah, they were new forms of battling, but I can't really recall any time they get used in the main game. Obviously, next up we of course have the Black and White post game. It's really nothing special. You're just going after the remaining 7 stages, and that's really it. Doesn't really add anything. Next up, we of course have Terminator Pokemon Evolve beyond level 50, and of course, Zora can't be caught in Black and White. Yeah, for some reason, Zora cannot be obtained in Black and White unless it's through an event or something. Fortunately, you can get one in Black and White too, which is nice, but kind of isn't it's kind of something that shouldn't have happened. As well with the too many Pokemon evolving, yeah. Several Pokemon evolve at like level 50 or something, and it's kind of a hassle, with arguably the most common example is, of course, Zweilous evolving at level 64. Yeah. Fortunately, they kind of did seem to calm down about that in subsequent generations, but overall, Gen 5 was a pretty fun generation, and a set of games I recommend people play. Obviously, next time I'll of course be back with the Gen 6 one, so stay tuned for that one, and until then, goodbye.